Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional Go player. In the last few weeks, so that's from the end of February to mid-March, I played something like half a dozen games, tournament games. There were a lot of mistakes, but on the whole, I think it was not so bad, so I decided to make some videos. And I'll start in this video with my game against Kenmochi, and he's a professional 8-dan, and I played this game in the Kiriyama Cup, which is a lightning tournament. And so we're starting with, I have the white stones. And my opponent likes to play the 3-4 points. He also likes to play this kosumi. It's one of Kenmochi's favorite moves, so I sort of expected him to play here. And at this point, I play a move which is going to set a theme for my next few games and the next few videos. I both want to play in the upper left corner in this general area. It's an important area where black's next move, if I play away, black's next move will be to press here. And this is supposed to be good for black. Go AIs will give black a good score when black plays that pressing move. So I want to play in that area, but if I play something like this, black is probably going to play some kind of a corner enclosure in the lower left, which is also a very big area. So I have two areas I wanted to play, and I solved that by playing a variation in the upper left corner that is going to give me sente, or the tempo. So I kicked here. This is another joseki that some players have played it in the past. In general, it was considered to be not so good for white, but computer programs like it. So Go AIs like it, and it has come back into fashion. And the virtue of it for me in this position, in this board position, is that I have sente in this variation. If black plays away at this point, then the pincer is a very good point for me to play. So it's reasonable that black plays an extension on the side. You will see some people playing this on the fourth line, and white plays the kakari. So my whole plan here was centered around the fact that I wanted to play both the upper left corner, and I managed to do that with sente, and I wanted to play this approach move in the lower left corner. So black plays a pincer, and I press here. Black rolls and jumps. The board position on the lower half of the board is actually fairly common, and the recommended move is for white to invade here. It turns into a very sharp fight. In the actual game, I chose to push here. The idea is I'm going to strengthen that group on the left before I continue with an invasion on the lower side. So if black had extended here, it's very possible that I would have continued like that, maybe pushing once more and then invading here. So just getting a few more pushes first. Since this position I have in the upper left, it's a very solid territory I have there. It means that I'm not losing so much by giving black these extra stones towards the left side. It's a relatively small area when we look at the whole board position. So my idea was to play that forcing exchange, and my opponent countered with this hane, which heats up the left side. It means I have to continue playing there, and I push through and cut on the third line. And this is something I can do with this stone in the upper left corner is going to take part in the fight here and connect up to white's cutting stone. Black, for the time being, has to deal with the fact that white has a potential cut at this point. And so black, for instance, black could play this way. But the problem with this is that the black's group in the corner is not alive yet. And white is going to connect up to the upper left corner there. So white has no problem locally. In fact, if black extends here, just because white has this stone here, white can be a bit more aggressive and play the tari before connecting underneath. So white has an active position on the outside, and black is weak on the lower side. In a position where white does not have stones in the upper left corner, black would be able to extend here, threatening white on the left side. In this case, white would start attacking the corner, and this would be bad for black. But usually, if there was nothing in the upper left corner, white would be playing here, and black would have the option of pushing through and cutting here, and it would be much more dangerous for white. The fact that I don't have to actually play that stone at 8 is making a big difference here. So in the game, I pushed through and cut, and black made a living shape in the corner. And I played down. There's a kind of a tendency to want to play the Atari here, but as we shall see in the later variations of this game, sometimes it's better not to have that Atari played. So we'll see that happening later in the game. And so I managed not to play that move, but I played here, which was another problematic move. This was not good. It was a bit heavy. So turns out I should have played one line higher here. With in some cases, I'm going to be playing a pressing move from above to strengthen my group. And this would have just been much better shape. Black will probably continue like this. And something like this. Maybe I'll play towards the center, just to leave myself the option of invading the lower side. And this is just about even. It's an even fight. In the game, playing the shoulder hit from inside, it was a bit heavy, and it's going to give Black opportunities to surround the lower side on a large scale. So Black pushes here. And this whole sequence is not so good for me, even if Black just extends here. Extending here would be the simple way to play, and something like this would happen, and Black would escape towards the upper side. Black is getting a nice territory here. This is going to be fairly big, and I think this is a slight advantage for Black. In the game, Black plays the Hane. This is a very strong move, but it does allow me to get the cut here and extend. So at this point, the game is still very even here. AlphaGo tells me that I should have pressed here, and this is a very interesting move. For the time being, White is threatening to jump in to the lower side, obviously, but also is looking at potential to connect up to this stone that White has in the lower right. So it's a double threat. Black will probably counter by jumping out here, and for the time being, White's connection here the Knight's connection there is not very solid. So if White does something like jumping in, Black could just play here, and White's going to get cut off. So that's not going to work. But White will continue by playing here, and will still be threatening to jump into the lower side, and improving my position in the center of the board. So I really like this move at 1, the Knight's move there, which is a double threat, but it's also a very light way to sort of put pressure on Black while escaping out towards the center. In the game, I started with this, and I'm improving my position on the left side. So there is some logic to this move also. Black extended, and I pushed. And here we're going to see why it was good for me not to play this Atari here. If I played the Atari here, in this position, I have to deal with the fact that Black can cut here. So for instance, if I jumped out, Black would be able to curl around and cut here next. And this would be a bit painful for me, Black capturing the 2 stones there. And so I'm getting rid of the cut by playing down here. So this is the Tetsuji, which is erasing Black's potential to cut here. And it's going to be forcing, because if Black plays away, White can play here and capture. So this is something that any good Go player just knows. It's sort of hardwired, and we just know that Black has to answer here. Which is wrong, actually. This was a blind spot. When we know that Tetsuji, we don't even think of Black playing away, but this is what AlphaGo says Black should do, and White can throw in and capture the 3 stones, and Black can continue, even if Black just takes the 2 stones in the center. When we look at this end result here, the process there where Black seemed to be trying to save these 3 stones, which are no longer cutting stones, it seemed a bit weird. But when I look at the end result here, where all of White's profit is on the left side, and Black has this splendid position in the center of the board, I can see that this is good for Black. So I have to agree with AlphaGo. Black can play the final move here, or Black can play it something like this would be good too. Either way, this is clearly good for Black. And looking at this diagram, it's just obvious that I would rather play with Black. It's good for Black. White's over-concentrated on the left side of the board. But in the game, both of us were just sort of assuming that black would be answering here. So that's an interesting blind spot and a bit embarrassing. But yeah, that's a human way to play for you, I guess. And this is working really well for white now, because there's no way that black is going to be able to connect up in the center. So black plays here, and jumping out here is the good way to put pressure on black. If black pushes through and cuts here, this is threatening a net on the right, so black has to escape, and white can just curl around here. Black has lost those stones in the center. So black cannot counterattack. Black has to curl around here. I get to play a hane. Black has to jump out. This is really bad shape for black. And now it's looking good for white. So the fact that black automatically answered white's Tsuji there and saved those 3 stones, it's turned out to be a major mistake on black's part. This move, this is a kind of a shape move, but I got a bit too fancy here. So I should have just simply pushed through, and black will get this shape here. It is a good looking shape, but I can extend out into the center. Something like this might continue. Black's group in the center is very weak, and you might notice that I got this forcing move in to get a bamboo joint there. So I'm connected. So allowing black to play the good shape move at 2, it's okay because I get to connect up there also. And I would probably continue with something like this. This variation, I did use katago to finish it off, and it goes on for a bit. But this is just, it's clearly good for white. I'll leave it here. Only 27 moves, but yeah. The black group on the upper side is not 100% alive yet. I'm going to get some profit, probably in the upper right area. My group in the center of the board is pretty safe. In this area I have 1 eye, and I have potential to make a 2nd eye there. So I'm okay in the center of the board. I'm getting profit here. I'm probably going to get profit here. And black has not really made any progress in this fight. So the fact that black was chased around and had to escape with these stones, playing a lot of useless points, it should have been the losing mistake. So here we are back at the game variation, and I extended here. So obviously the idea is that if black connects here, I'm going to push through. So this would be even better for white. But when black plays here, my idea is that I can connect here and cut. And this is actually, it is functioning. It is working to a certain degree, but just because it's working does not necessarily mean that it was better than that diagram I was just showing you. So black plays once here. Black did not want to just push through and allow me to capture 3 black stones. So black didn't want that and played 1 Atari and pushed through, and I curled around here. So this was, it's in a position where it looks like I might have opportunities to kill black. In actual practice, covering here would have been very dangerous. So black would cut here and cut here. And pushing here, it threatens a ladder in this direction. So black would have a ladder if I played something on the left. Black would have a ladder here towards the upper right. So I can't do that. This would prevent the ladder, but it's just too many cutting points, too many weaknesses for white to handle. So this would be just one example, relatively simple example, where black captures those 4 white stones. And so this would not be optimal for me. It's the fact that I've played at 1 here, trying to cut black off, and I'm going to lose those stones after all. It was not good. So I curled around, and black played the hane here. And I finished off black stones in the center, so I did get to capture them, like this. And so this, if black plays here, it's going to be a ladder. Like that. So it's no problem for me. And in the game, black peeped here. So at this point, my impression of the fight here is that I've already had great success in the center of the board, and I should have no problem dealing with this fight that's starting on the left side. So maybe I was feeling a bit complacent here, and I played this careless move, and it's clearly a very bad move. So this is a position where I already have the potential to connect on the left with a move here. But before I do that, I want to extend my liberties in the center of the board. So what I should have done is I should have just played the attachment here to get a good shape in the center of the board. And I will be putting some pressure on Black's group here in the center. So it's good for a number of reasons. I'm still threatening to cut Black off on the left. Black will continue something like this. So Black connects up to the upper side, and I have one eye here, and at any point I can play here to connect up to the corner. This move is a rather small move. It would end up connecting on the first line, so I will probably try to find a way to avoid playing that move. This is one example that the computer gave me. It's very easy for White to actually make a living shape in the center of the board. And Black is not very well connected here, so Black probably has to go back and add a stone there. And this is it's going to be good for White. So this would be a winning position for White. So in the game when I play here, and Black cuts here, I suddenly realize that Black has an advantage in the race to capture. And so it's a dangerous position for me. For instance, if I connect here, and continue with something like this, then Black is going to win the race to capture. Just to fill the liberties here to show, Black is one move ahead. So Black won that race to capture. Otherwise, if White can try to surround Black in the center, it's not all that easy. So it would probably involve losing one liberty somehow. And for instance, if it was something like this, then Black already has 6 liberties, White only has 5, so Black's winning already. So that wasn't good. Maybe I could have saved the group by playing here, something like this. This would still be not much of a success for me, even if Black just plays something like this. So it would be relatively good for Black. In the game, I just decided I was going to sacrifice those stones. Actually, this was a point when I could have still saved them if I had played here. And Black will probably play here and break through here. When White plays here, Black has a difficult choice though. If Black just pushes through here, I can connect up. This is going to be a ko. So Black probably wants to play the cut here first, in which case I will connect and Black pushes through. This means that when White plays here, Black can use this forcing move. So I will not do that. But I can sacrifice the 4 stones in the center, and this will be fairly even. Probably not bad for White. So I still should have tried to save these stones, but I sort of decided maybe I should just throw them away. Since this is clearly, locally, it's a bad result for White also. It's just a comparison of which is worse, so it was hard to say. And I decided just to sacrifice those stones. So what I did in the game is I played here. Black plays this forcing sequence and is going to capture my stones on the left. So up to this point, clearly bad local result for White. White did get a nice position here in the center, but I could have done better on the left side. And I played once here, and this is where I decided I was just going to play away from the upper left. A computer will probably give Black a fairly large score, a large winning percentage. In the human context, the point difference is probably not so big, and we still have most of the right half of the board to play. One thing I've learned from studying with computers is that at this stage of the game, there's still a lot of mistakes waiting to happen. So although I knew I'd made a mistake here, I didn't think it was the end of the game. And some advice I often give to other players is that when you've made a local mistake like this, quite often it's a good idea to play away. And part of the reason, of course, is mental, and that if you sort of dwell on that position, you're going to be upset about it and stuff like that. But there's also the fact that when a fight like this has happened and it ends in a good result, in this case for Black, White doesn't really have any good local moves. And as a general idea, it's probably good for white just to play away from that. Try to find something good on the other side of the board. So that's what I did here. Just to say that this invasion is not completely wasted. Without it, at some point black's going to play. If I play away, for instance, this would be a good point to play. At some point black's going to play here, threatening the corner. So just playing one invasion, it gives me the option of later playing something like this to maybe to capture a black stone here, or to play something like this later, threatening to connect up at this point, or to play this move immediately just to take away black's territory and crawl on the second line. In this variation, I do have the threat of wedging here to cut black off, or even if black captures the stone. In some cases, I'll be able to force from the corner. So there's a number of ways I can still make use of this stone, and it will depend on how black plays. So I left it. And I think if I was very calm and confident in the overall position, maybe this would be the move I played, and objectively this is probably a good move compared to the game. So you can see that although I was not desperate, maybe I was a bit excited at least at this point. So I do feel that I probably have to play actively to catch up here. And that shows with this move also. It's probably a bit of an overplay. It's a very aggressive move. It would be locally more reasonable for white to play something like this, or maybe something like this. This is a tesuji. It's a shape move. I really have a bit of trouble explaining it because I don't think it's a very good move. It probably would have been perfectly okay for black just to play underneath here. But black plays here. I have to answer in the center, but I'm perfectly okay here. So I push through here. I think I've gained a little bit in this local fight, and at this point I'm feeling that the game is close to even. And I cut once, and I think that shows in my choice of playing here, which is a relatively simple and calm move, where it would be more aggressive to connect here. Black will push. I have to answer this on the left. If I do not answer on the left and play something in the center, black can extend here with the threatened cut and push out here. There's no way white can save these stones, because if white plays here, black takes here. Or if white simply connects, black still plays here. And this is not working for white. So white has to answer on the left, and black will play probably here. And there's some bad aji here. It doesn't really look like white can come out of this unscathed. So for instance, one potential variation would be this one, where it looks like black is going to get something, maybe capture these two stones. So this is something that could have happened. It looked really complicated, and I chose the simpler way, like this. And the game is close to even, as I was saying. And black has a choice here of just giving me the right side. That would be playing something like this, for instance, and just taking the corner, giving me the right side. A fairly close game. In the game, black invaded here. And this is, locally, it's a difficult fight for black, but black does have potential to live there. So he's going to try to erase the right side. And playing here was a clever tesuji. Just playing this way would allow me to connect up to my side group, and black would not have very much eye space and would be pushed around. So at the very least, I would be getting most of the upper side in this fight as I attacked black in the center, and I'm getting some territory on the right side too. So this is not working for black. By playing here first, these two stones will get in the way of white connecting up. In this variation, white does not have any good continuation here. In fact, if white curls around, this is going to create a shortage of liberties when black plays here, and can cut white off. So that's not very good shape. In the game, I simply connected underneath. And with this move, black has established one eye plus the potential to make two eyes. So black is getting pretty close to having eye shape. So at this point, I played this large move, and the game is very close. So I had the option of trying to attack black on the right, but black has this forcing move here, which is threatening to play an Atari at T11 and capture 3 white stones. So with that forcing move, black will have no trouble making 2 eyes on the right side. So playing something like this to take away black's second eye, it doesn't look like it's going to be immediately effective for white to try to do that. So I just left it and played on the upper side, looking at the potential to attack black. And black in the game played here, starting a sequence where black is going to add a move, add a stone to the right side group. And this turned out to be the losing move. So what black should have done is black had to protect the upper side here, and the game would have been close. So for instance, I could try to attack black here. For instance, something like this might happen, where black is going to get out into the center. This would be one way to do it. And in this case, black has lost the forcing move here, but can still play a jump there. So if black jumps here, it's going to be fairly difficult for me to try to kill this group. For instance, this way, black is already pretty much alive. It's a ko-like position, and black is out in the center. Otherwise, maybe it's better for me to play something like this, in which case black will still have the forcing move here, and we'll have a number of ways to live. So for instance, this would be another way that black can either live or connect up to the corner. So black has a number of ways to choose to live on the side there. And this would be a fairly close game. In the actual game, black plays here. This is a good shape move. You can learn from the shape. The shape is very good, but the cost for black is that it cost him one move. And I got to play this move. So this was the finishing move here, where I've taken away black's territory on the upper side, and the 2 final big points. There's 2 final points that are interchangeable, or miai. So that is, one of the 2 points is this point, and I'll explain why that is important. And if black plays there, white will surround the upper side, and this is going to be enough territory for white to win the game. In the game, black played the upper side, so the other big point is white playing here, which is going to cut those 2 black stones off. If black tries to save them, white can still cut here. So that's why it was important for black to have a stone here, which would connect up the 4 black stones by enabling the cut here. In the game, I wedged here, and black answered here, and I captured those stones. So at this point, white has established a lead in territory. I think the game was close before komi, so I have an advantage of something like komi. It's close to a komi difference. And this is where my opponent resigned the game. On the whole, apart from my big mess up on the left side of the board, I think I played fairly well on the whole. So thanks for watching the video. I will continue with some more of my recent games in the videos to come. So thank you for watching, and like it if you liked it. Sign up to my channel for more videos like this.